Hi, this is Kajukenbo Live coming out of South Lake Tahoe, California. I'm Senior Grandmaster Jimenez, and today I have Chapter 9 of my book, Like It or Not. Today we're going to talk about Great Grandmaster Gaylord. He was my teacher for over 45 years. And I'd like to tell a story about how we started and where he went from there and towards the end, and all the good stuff in between. Well, everybody knows I started with Senior Grandmaster Herbert Luke, Gung Fu out of Hawaii, and then I started with Brendan Lai, Praying Mantis out of San Francisco, and then I got a hold of Senior Grandmaster Vargas in Kajukenbo, which obviously opened up a whole new book, a whole new chapter, what the real martial arts is. And I was with him for about 6 years, and we were all under Grandmaster Gaylord. Through this interview here, I will probably refer him as professor sometimes, because I've always called him professor. I've never really called him great grandmaster or all that. But anyway, like I said, we were always under him from the beginning. The Kajukenbo Association of America, which Senior Grandmaster Vargas got started, and what Gaylord did, and then Vargas took it over. Anyway, I always heard the horror stories about him, how tough he was, how mean he was. And I remember one time, the first time I ever saw him, it was in the 70s. And one of Vargas' students did something stupid, going to Long Beach Internationals. So Vargas brought Gaylord down to punish him and everything. And that was the first time I actually seen him. He walked in, bigger than life, this big guy, and just he strolled in, and his mannerism and everything, you could say he was the man. And so he talked to the class and stuff, and then that was the last I seen of him. And then a few years later, me and Senior Grandmaster Vargas got into a difference of opinion and an argument, and I wound up leaving. And before I left, he said, "Oh, I'm going to put you under Professor Gaylord, and you're going to be his chief dummy, and he's going to kick the shit out of you every day." And I go, "Okay." So anyway, so I left, and I thought about it, and I said, "Well, that's not cool." So I started my own studio. And about a year into it and stuff, like I said, I was competing a lot, and I was kind of well known and stuff. And I was in Reardon High School, and Ronna Stellar said, "Hey, Grandmaster Gaylord, well, Professor Gaylord wants to meet you." So I said, "Okay." So of course I was shitting my pants, and he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, Jimenez, tell me about what's going on with you and Vargas." So I told him the whole situation. I don't want to get into that on this thing, but I told him the whole situation, and he called him not a nice name. I don't want to say the name, but and he said, "F him, I heard a lot about you and stuff like that, and so on and so on." He goes, "I want you to be directly under me." So I said, "Okay." He goes, "You see me Monday." So that's when he had the studio in Fremont. So I said, "Okay." So I went up there, and I was a little nervous, a little scared still, because he's the man. And he was sitting behind his desk, and he tell me the whole story again. I told him, and he goes, asked me what degree I was, what black belt I was. So I told him, and he said, "You come here next Monday." He goes, "I want to bring you up to second degree, where you belong." So I thought, whoa. So I said, "Okay." So I remember going up there, and he promoted me. And back then, we don't do this belt whipping crap that they do right now. It's kind of, to me, it's silly. I don't know where the hell they came that up from. But, we always hit each other in the stomach. So he promoted me to second degree. I got pictures of it, it was kind of cool. I was skinny. I was only 150 pounds. And anyway, long story short, there was about 20 black belts there, and they all smacked me a good one in the stomach. And, and I remember jumping back up in a horse stance. And he said, "Oh, you want more?" And I went, "Oh, no, Professor." I just thought, out of respect, I would come back in the horse stance. So that started our relationship right there. And then from there, he started the black belt class, which there was probably, I don't know, maybe 20 of us, maybe a little more, more or less. And all the top heads of black belts of the different studios. There was no white belts, there was no brown belts, there was no color belts, just black belts. And the top guys like myself, Jim Morez, Brian Yoshi, Pete Morales, you know, the list goes on. You know, Jim Williams, all the old timers, you know, and that's when we started. Now, I remember the first day of black belt class, of course, everybody had the big egos, including me. And of course, you know, I'm not going to lie, I was probably one of the biggest egos there. So, long story short, everybody started hurting each other really bad. And what I did was watch what he did. And then what he did was he took everybody's belts off their waist, and hung them on the rail. He's like, hang them on the rail right now. So we all hung them on the rail. He goes, now. He goes, you guys are all the same rank. Which kind of made sense, because like I said, everybody had big egos, including me. And he trained the black belts once a month. And the black belt workouts were so hard. Literally, people were getting hurt. They were getting knocked out. I remember he had black belt class in my studio one time. And one of my black belts, Cliff, we did punching attack 3B. And if you remember, you know, you break, you grab, and you throw them. Well, he put Cliff's head right between the 2x4s in the studio, right through the sheetrock. And Cliff pulls out, and he's got sheetrock all around his head. And I'm like, wow. Now, think about this. If he would have hit the stud, he would have broke his neck. Anyway, long story short, and then that day was like a kind of an odd day that day. Everybody was hurting each other. Jim Morez did punching attack 3B on one of Conquered black belts. And you know, he grabbed his hair, I literally punched him in the head, kicked him in the face, knocked him out cold. And the whole day was that way. Everybody was hurting each other really extra bad. I think because Grandmaster Gaylord just kind of like pumped up the class by throwing Cliff's head through the wall, you know. But then later on down the line, I remember we were in black belt class, and he choked out Van, Jim Morris's black belt. Literally choked him, had his gi here, and he choked him out till Van passed out. He threw him on the ground. You know, you guys got that? And I remember Jim Morris wasn't too happy about that. He was pretty upset because that was his black belt. So what happened was we had to take him in the office and kind of calm him down. I said, look, you know, these guys have to go to work on Sunday. And so he understood. But in the backside of that sword was then the black belt classes became kind of silly. Just really easy stuff, boring, things we already knew. Then all of a sudden you start getting some brown belts in there, and some green belts, and then the black belts start slacking off, and then got a lot of color belts. But the black belt class went on for like, oh my gosh, probably 30, 35 years, and I think it's still going on. I think Jim Morris is teaching it right now. He the whole class just kind of went like really low, and that's not him. And it's because he was so strong, and when he hit you, and he always wore this one big ring, and when that ring hit you in the face, he'd leave a complete ring mark on your face. So you knew you got hit. Or he kicked you in the face, he didn't care. You know, in fact, one time I got him a part on a movie that I was doing with Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Danson and Will Smith. It was 1992. So I got him on the set, and I had a pair of basketball or shorts, the real skin tight ones. I wouldn't wear them now because it would make fun of me, but back then everybody wore them. And I had no cup on, and the camera guy walks over and he goes, hey, let me see you guys do something. I said, okay. So the person goes, call out Tony Punch. And I said, okay. So I whispered in his ear. I said, Professor, I don't have a cup on, so don't kick me in the groin. Oh, okay. Well, what's the first thing you did? He kicked me so hard in the groin, I think I screamed, and even Whoopi Goldberg turned around and looked. I'm rolling on the ground with both my balls in my hand, literally rolling. because he kicked me that hard. And then what makes it worse, the camera guy goes, "Cool," and walked off. And I'm just laying there rolling. And that was the first time, to be honest with you, I got mad at him because he didn't have to do that to me. But that's just the way it was. He didn't hold back, and he was that way with all his top black belts. He let him have it, which is kind of a good thing too. And then sometimes you kind of have to kind of lighten up a little bit. And but we went on and on and on. And as the years went by, we became and had kind of like a different kind of relationship than just a karate teacher and student. He would call me up and, "Tony, this is Gaylord, professor." And I go, "I know." And he's "I want you to do this." Like he wanted his 10th degree black belt. He's "Tony, make it happen." I said, "Okay." So I did. I went to all the heads of the black belts, and we got him his 10th degree. Or he'd call up and say, "Tony, I want this done. I want that done. I want this done." So I'd always do what he said. But in return, it made a lot of people not like me because he told me I wanted to come from you, not him. So, and some things I didn't really want to say, but, I had to say it because he asked me to. So, of course, in the black belt meeting after, which was kind of a joke, they all thought I was an asshole because I'd bring up certain things. And they're not realizing it was coming from the man upstairs. But that's how he was, and so we had that bond. And he would come down to my studio once a month and teach my class, or my black belts and stuff. And we had a nice time. We went to Reno. I had a limousine for him. Any event, I had a limousine for him. I really took care of him, and because he deserved it. He brought the Gaylord method to all of us, and myself, all the other Kajukenbo people, the old people in KAA, the old timers. Jim Morez, Jim Williams, Brian Yoshi, Pete Morales, people like that. If it wasn't for Great Grandmaster Gaylord, we wouldn't be where we were at today. So that's one thing he did do. He brought out some top black belts that went on to put out top black belts of their own. And we were fine. We were going back and forth, and he's a great teacher. The classes were hard. He taught good techniques and stuff. But what happened later on down the line was he promoted. He started off actually. The first one, he started off with Milcor Chavez. I think Milcor Chavez was like a 1st degree black belt, 2nd degree black belt, something like that. And, he didn't train with Gaylord. He was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Jim Morez and those guys brought him into the association. Well, that was the first time what he did was he promoted him from 2nd degree to 5th degree. And doing so, it kind of stepped on my toes, Brian Yoshi's toes, Jim Williams' toes, because we went like years and years and years and years before degrees. It wasn't given out like it is now. I mean, we go 5 years before we got another degree. And so that's the first time he did that. And I was kind of like, okay, I was a little upset, but, I just let it slide. I'm thinking whatever, And, but, personally, like I said, I didn't think he should have done that. And then later on down the line, what started really bad, he did the same thing with Mark Geary, which is one of my black belts, actually. I promoted him to 1st degree. And then, he left in bad terms. And then Professor Gaylord promoted him to like 4th degree. And I remember a lot of the black belts that day walked out. I wasn't there because I had already pulled away. And they walked away. And that was the beginning of the end. Because what happened, and then he started promoting a lot of people that never trained with him, like Tim Garnier from Oregon. That's Sid Lopez's black belt. And he promoted Tim Garnier, and they got Tim Garnier on Facebook saying, "Oh yeah, I was with him for 30 years." No, you weren't. And I got a lot of other black belts that are under him, and they're loyal to him, and that's great. But they're outsiders. And when I mean by say outsiders, we trained with Great Grandmaster Gaylord for 30, 40 years. All of us, we trained and worked our way up through the rank. We didn't step in and get a rank, and that's what happened towards the end. And I don't know if it was because he was getting older, or he wanted more people under him. But how the saying goes, you want quality, not quantity. And I had kind of pulled away from not really from him, because he was always my teacher. I loved him dearly. He was my friend. And what I'm telling you right now, I'm not bashing him. I'm nothing like that at all. I'm giving him all the credit in the world, because if it wasn't for Great Grandmaster Gaylord, none of us would be here, including myself. But I'm going to tell it the way it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'll tell you exactly the way it is. And that's the one thing that Great Grandmaster Gaylord, he liked about me. He always should take me in the opposite. He goes, "You know what, Tony?" He goes, "A lot of people don't like you. The reason why is because you tell them the way it is. You don't sugarcoat things. You're not a yes man." And that's the problem I did. I would say this is not right. I would just, tell it the way it is. And the average person doesn't like to be told the truth. They rather have somebody give them some bullshit, or, "Oh yeah, you're right, and then talk shit about you after when you turn around. Well, I wasn't that way. And that's what he liked about me. So that's why, when he wanted things done, he always came to me, because we had that certain relationship that we did. And he promoted me all the way up to all my degrees except for my 9th degree. And like my 8th degree, he did the same thing to Pete Morales, because Pete Morales told me the same thing. He calls me up. He says, "Okay, look, you're an 8th degree now, but we'll just keep it under wraps right now, because if I promote you, then I'm gonna have to promote so and so and so and so and so and so, and then I'm gonna have to hear a bunch of shit from everybody else. So between me and you," he goes, "your 8th degree." And Pete Morales, I was laughing. Pete Morales told me the same thing. He goes, "Tony," he says, "he told me the same thing." So I didn't jump from nowhere. I got my black belt from Senior Grandmaster Vargas. I got all my degrees from Gaylord, and then my 9th degree I got from my original teacher, Senior Grandmaster Vargas, and Aldo Coscos. Alvin Reyes Jr. signed my certificate. Al Novak signed my certificate. Robert New signed my certificate. Even Pete Morales signed my certificate. So I had all senior grand black belts promote my sign my certificate. So the only part I feel bad about is that I didn't get to say goodbye to him when he passed away, because we weren't really talking a little bit, because I was upset with him about something, and I had enough of the politics from the old KAA, and I just had enough of it. And it's still going on. They're still immature and stuff like that. They'll never get anything done. But that's the only thing I regret, because I did love him. Like I said, he was my friend, my teacher, and someone I really looked up to. And everything I could do, I could try to help him. When his wife, Millie, passed away, I remember I got a phone call coming in. I was coming in from the valley into the San Leandro, and he called up, and he was upset. He was crying, and he said he didn't want to be alone, and he asked me if I could come stay with him 7 days a week. Well, at the time, I was married to my 3rd wife, I think, and I just had a baby, and I told him, I said, "Professor," I go, I can't do this. I go, because I just had a baby, and so and so and so, and plus I have class at night. So I said, "Well, maybe on the weekends I'll come." Well, that's when Mark Gary stepped in, and he took my place, and he spent the time with them and stuff. And that's when him and Mark Gary got real close to Professor. So we were there for him through the tough and the good times and the bad times. But I just feel bad, and I wish things that would have been different that we were in talking terms before he passed, because I just really, really, miss him a lot. I know I was talking to, and how I knew this was Grandmaster Bruno from Portugal. Great Grandmaster Gaylord really liked him, treated him like a brother, and really, really, really liked him. And Bruno took care of him really well. And I guess the last time he was up there before he passed, he had told Bruno, took him to the side, and he said, "Look," he goes, "I'm not talking to Tony Jimenez, but I love that man." He goes, he goes, "If anything happens to me, you make sure he takes over the KA. Not his successor, because that's not what he was saying. It was take over the KA to keep it going, keep it afloat, to make it worldwide." And Bruno told me this, it brought tears to my face. In fact, Siga and Tammy Kasan was here, and I started to cry, because it just hit me so hard in here, that's how he felt. And after we had a little bit of an animosity together, that he still had those wishes. Now again, the successor, no, not that. Jim Juarez was the successor. Should be the successor. He's been Great Grandmaster Gaylord's top black belt. So that part, that's okay. It was just the business part and taking over the KAA, which I tried. And if you guys know the whole story on that, that just didn't work. So I, did I branched off. And within a year's time, we were all over the world. And unfortunately, I had to stop using his name and picture, because Kelly Gaylord doesn't want it on there. And it was, it hurt him, not me. So, they didn't want, we don't want Gaylord's method on there. Well, whose method we're going to teach, So, of course, I have my own method, Jimenez method. Grandmaster Willis does his a different thing, So we all have our different thing. But the basic foundation is Gaylord method. And that's one thing you can never, never, never take away from what all of us is doing, because we have the foundation from Great Grandmaster Charles H. Gaylord. He's the one that put all of us on the map. If you look at the family tree, you go down it, and you'll see who he put out, and who they put out, and who they put out. And it's like, it's just a great thing. He had a lot of respect. And him and Emperor didn't get along. And I know right now, if he knew that they made the OKA KSDI, I know he'd roll over in his grave, because he didn't like the KSDI at all. And I'm not saying this to be mean to anybody. I'm just going by what he told me, So that's unfortunate they had to do that. But I guess with the small amount of people they had left, that they had no choice to do that. But like I said, I wanted to make this one of my chapters about Great Grandmaster Gaylord. And if anybody has any questions out there, feel free to leave them. Because I was watching one of the KA guys has a podcast, and they interviewed some of the KA people. And, it's all good things. I mean, the same thing. He was good to everybody. Everybody loved him. He was a great man. Like, everybody has their faults. I got my fault. He had his. I'm sure you guys out there have your faults. So everybody has a fault. Okay, but you can't dwell on those faults. You look past it, and you show the good that person's done. And I found that he did a lot of good. Mentally wise, he didn't hurt nobody. Physically wise, oh yeah, he kicked everybody's ass. I think Grandmaster, in fact, it's not I think, I know for a fact, Senior Grandmaster Vargas said that when he had his black belt test through Gaylord, there was 6 of them, and they all had to shave their heads bald. And in those 3 months, by the time their hair grew back, he had this gruesome black belt workout. And whoever survived the workout got their black belt. And Senior Grandmaster Vargas said that It was him and 2 other guys, which I don't know their names. And the other 3 guys had to quit. I mean, they were had broken arms, broken leg. They couldn't continue. So 3 out of the 6 got their black belts in 3 months. And he said that he'd never had such a brutal workout, you know, with Professor Gaylord. In fact, I was talking to Al Delacruz. Not Al Delacruz from Hawaii, but Al Delacruz from San Leandro, the Taekwondo guy. This is years ago as we were talking about it. And he started taking karate years and years ago when I was a little kid. He started taking karate from Gaylord in San Leandro. And his exact words to me was, "Oh, that fucking Charlie, he's crazy." He goes, "Man, we'd be in set position. He'd walk up, pow, fucking just punch you right in the ribs and drop you for no reason." He goes, "So he walked by, we were all like tense up, real tense because we knew it was coming." He goes, "So we couldn't take it." He goes, "So we quit Kajukenbo and went to Taekwondo," which we all know how that goes. And then he said that he was just a crazy guy. And all the stories I heard from the other people that in the past, you know, that was there before I was, like in, you know, we first had a studio in San Leandro. He was tough. In fact, somebody Grandmaster Lopez just told me years ago, they seen him in a seminar. He just jumped up and did a scissor kick. He said he couldn't believe he did that scissor kick. You know, I watched him, punch his fist, a spike through the wood. I watched him bend a iron rod. Those in the railroad tracks, bend those. You know, I watched him do a lot of stuff that was he just did. I was like, whoa. Especially if it was a small class, he would show certain things. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty good. You know, so like I said, you know, this is how I met Grandmaster Gaylord. But like I said, I run the worldwide Kajukenbo Federation. I changed it to make the Gaylord girls happy. I didn't have to, but to save a fight, and you know, it's okay. You know, I let them think they won. You know, so. But all my Kajukenbo Federation and stuff, it's all Gaylord method. It says Jimenez method, but the foundation is Gaylord method. And that can be never taken away. You can never take that away from anybody. So, again, you know, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I'm not bashing him one bit at all. I'm just telling you the way it is. That's the way the truth was. And but he was a great man, and I love him, and I miss him, and I wish to this day he was here. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up right now. I'm Senior Grandmaster Jimenez. This is Kajukenbo Live coming out of South Lake Tahoe, California. And this is Chapter 9, My Story, Like It or Not. Thank you.